Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Awakening Happiness, where we share our stories and discussions and discoveries as we pursue awakening our own happiness. So, today, as you can see, we are a little bit different. We are in the sea, we are in the water. And today, we want to tell you about a very popular film which came out recently and it's called Avatar. So we're going to do like a film review, our style, the way we perceive what this film was about. So if you haven't seen Avatar: The Way of the Water yet, we you might want to not watch this video because we might spoil your enjoyment and your own understanding and perception of the film. So maybe go watch it first and then come back and watch this because we will be trying to not spoil it all and give it all away, but still, it might not be something you want to experience. It's a film that really needs fresh eyes. So, Chris, hello first. Hello to you as well.
Hello, yeah, hi.
Did you like this film?
What's a loaded question? Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be one of the top 10 grossing films ever, and it's probably going to do more than 2 billion at the box office. So, is it a good film? Yeah, of course, it's a good film. It's an excellent film. The question then is what, what, how can you critique it? Well, I mean, we saw it in 3D, didn't we? So, that sent me doolally to start with because like my as far as my brain was concerned, was supposed to be rotating at the start and going round and round upside down, and my body wasn't. So there was a disconnect between what my mind was seeing and what was actually happening, and my body was experiencing. And I found that quite difficult to the level where I took my glasses off for a bit because I needed about 5 minutes to kind of recover. Doesn't look so good without the glasses on, I have to be honest.
Well, it's
It
because it
was,
was a 3D
yeah, yeah.
projection, so you
But
could see a little blurry otherwise.
yeah, like three bits, the three images of each person. Yeah, but yeah, I mean the 3D it was pretty amazing scenes, and you just can't imagine the technicalities of creating something like this from a graphic design perspective and stuff. It was you're looking at the picture, the creatures and everything else. It was like you were there, kind of thing, and they had to exist because the definition and the quality of it was amazing. So yeah, I mean from a technical perspective, it's an amazing piece of art. If you're just
Yeah.
going to look at that, it's an amazing piece of art. I mean, the whole imagery of the movie is incredibly well done. So you then got storyline and characters, haven't you? Like what's going on in the film, and like for me, it wasn't as busy as the first film. Like the first film, it was a brand new planet, Pandora. We were being exposed to this and the Nave or whatever they're called for the first time, and it was all very very new, and and it was basically the introduction of it. I mean, there's possibly going to be 5 or 7 of these films at some point.
You
So
can tell from the way this one ended that there's going to be
there's so
more
many
to
left
come.
open doors, aren't there, for things to
Yeah.
creep in. Still, there was also a couple of unanswered questions, in this one, like, really, which we didn't get the answers to or whatever, but I'm so sure we will in the next one, which is due. It's been made apparently. It's due out Christmas 2005, 2025. Sorry,
Mm. Well,
2020, maybe. Well, I
oh,
don't know, it's a
maybe.
couple of years,
Was it 1 year? Well,
maybe a
looking
couple of
forward to it.
years. But
But
yeah,
my
so
experience was similar to yours with the 3D. It caused me a lot of eye problems, and like the next morning I wake up and my head is still a little heavy, and if I move my eyes in a certain direction, they weren't really responding that well. So having such a long film in 3D was a bit of a strain on my brain. Maybe it's not going to be like this for other people because they might have a younger brain. I don't know. Maybe our brains are not meant for this type of um, entertainment for that long a period of time. Maybe for a shorter period of time, it's going to be
I mean,
easier
if
to
you've
cope.
been to see a number of these 3D films, then you might be used to it and you know what's coming. I mean, I don't think I've seen many 3D films. I don't really, we've been to a few movies, but I think it's something you get used to. I mean, certainly
Probably.
even with the
Yeah.
virtual reality glasses, if you go on one of these virtual reality roller coasters, I'm messed up with these because my body's saying I should be going up and down, and I'm not. Just my head is.
It's not
So
even your head, it's just the images that you're seeing.
yeah, but the brain thinks it should be going up and down, and it's
Yeah.
feeling like you're not. So that causes, I guess, that must be like what car sickness is for young kids. It's a bit of nausea until you get used to it.
Mm. Well, I don't know. So then when the film ended, you said, "What did you think?" And I was like, "Whoa, I don't even know what I think yet." It took me some time to process it and to start making sense, maybe because of this overload with the senses and the 3D experience. So yesterday, we decided we were going to do this video review, this film review, and I sat down and I wrote down what I made, what sense I could make out of this film. Um, but maybe the main ones to do with how we humans in our on our planet treat nature, how we treat the planet, and how we treat other living creatures on that planet, and how we treat each other. This is probably the overarching main topic: how we perceive others and how we perceive the world around. And then from there on, yeah, you would say, yeah, that's about everything. Every film is about that. Maybe it is, and maybe you're right. But having machines destroying beautiful nature was really causing me a lot of heartache. Watching these scenes where the well, maybe I shouldn't be giving all these details, but there was a lot of scenes where nature was being destroyed, either in destroying the landscape or destroying the living animals on it. And
I mean, I think
then
it was worse in 3D. Yeah, because I don't know, in 2D it's sort of a bit flat and unreal, but when you see things in 3D being destroyed, it's a bit more like real. It's suddenly,
it's
even though it's not real in
yeah,
this case, but
it's as if
it,
it's you're involved in there. You're kind of in this, and there's like you can't do anything to stop this because you know that it's wrong, but you can't do much about it. You can just feel the feelings that you're feeling and be left with that. And then the biggest point was probably about hunting big sea mammals who are absolutely doing no harm to anyone and hunting them only for the tiny amount of gift that they can give us
well,
for
that
our rejuvenation.
sacrifice their life and sacrifice how
Sacri-
many years they've been around and the good things they do to the environment, and then the bulk. I mean, like 99.999% is chucked away, discarded as if
right,
it's a nothing,
yeah.
and just a small amount, a little small amount of
And actually singling out the mother with the little calf because she is not going to leave the calf behind, and because of that, she's not that quick to escape like the others. And so, killing her mother with the calf because and leaving the calf behind because obviously it's not as big and it won't have probably the same amount of benefit. Um, and then there's a calf that's left without a mother, which is still a young calf, and the mother's dead for almost nothing. Well, millions of pounds, millions of dollars of some secreted gland material that makes people younger.
Like just stops their
Rejuvenation,
aging, stops their aging,
stops their aging.
stops them dead. So.
Um, that was probably the worst.
I mean, the whole reason for them being there, like at all, and they'd already,
Who the humans? You mean?
yeah, and it looks
Yeah,
like they were kind of building really rapidly because they got new mechanisms for basically building. And they were there because the 10 years since the previous, like in as far as the story goes, the 10 years that have elapsed, the Earth has gone from a planet where they're in desperate need for this unobtainium, which I don't know what it's supposed to have done, but that
some
was
mineral for
they,
fuel. I think it
yeah,
was
worth trillions of dollars. And now, 10 years later, the planet's on a crash course for not being habitable. So they've got to find a new home. And the whole premise of the movie really is that now the human race has got to find a new place to reside. And they've targeted, Pandora as this place. So this is the synopsis of what the film's about. And then uh, basically they've got to deal with the incumbent race, which is these Navi, and Jake Sully, who's turned native, and they've got to basically deal with him. And so, a bit questionable, but they've dredged up the guy that was leading the attack last time. The Colonel guy who was like hard as nails, who got shot to death with arrows from Mrs. Sully.
from
Uh,
Nate Eerie.
yeah, and he's basically been reincarnated as an avatar, like as one of the
It's an
natives.
Arvin, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, he's got it in for Jake Sully. So the whole thing is really him chasing about, uh, looking for ways to track down and get his revenge on Jake Sully. And so, that's where we kind of the premise, and and because
Yeah, so if they're going to be the humans are going to be finding a new planet to live because the other ones, the Earth is dying. And so they're going there, and the thing that is actually funding this a relocation of all the population of the Earth, the thing that's funding all of this because it needs money to be funded with all the building and everything, that comes from selling this whale material because that's very expensive and people want to invest in that to keep younger. And but if you think about it, so horrible. So humans are going to a new planet, and they've chosen that one because it's so beautiful and it's amazing. And what they're doing is they're starting by killing it and destroying it. So they're going to be moving into this planet eventually in the next episodes, I suppose, because that's what the purpose of all this building is. And it's already starting to be an uninhabitable in certain areas, or like it's losing its life. So then when they destroy that one, they're gonna move on to another one. It's like this human race that we pride ourselves into being the top of the creation. What nonsense.
there's
We
human
are so
virus.
primitive. We are so primitive still in our thinking and in everything we do.
Well, we're a virus, as in the Matrix. it was said, you know, you're a virus. You basically go somewhere, you colonize it, and then you basically destroy it. There's another thing that does that. It's called a
So
virus.
there's another topic in the film. We know this is not a criticism to the film, by the way. This is just a criticism to what we are like, humans. And
So,
the film is
so
actually very making a very good point about it.
yeah, and it
Um,
makes it makes it very well, and you know, also highlights that these creatures are intelligent as well. I mean, okay, it's a different kind. It's intelligent in the film, but there's no question that we haven't yet worked out how animals are going either. So you know, like we're slaughtering them without really any knowledge about them, uh,
mm,
and you know, there could be many ways we could work better together, you know, humans and animals, but we've not even. I think the film brings that out. That how you know you can work in harmony with everything around you. You don't have to slaughter it to death and then just move on because there's nothing left alive. So anyway,
yeah.
so that's the ecological side of it, and quite
Hmm.
clearly that's a major part of the film. But what about these relationships? Because there's some really interesting
Yeah.
things that have been like included in the film. Whether there's a massive intent behind it or not, I don't know. I really don't know. But
It made it to be very relatable. So there were these kids. So Sally, my Jake, my Jake and Naitiri, they have four kids. Well, three of their own, one adopted. Was it? Was it? Yeah, three of their own. So they have two sons and a little girl, and they've adopted another girl who was Grace, the scientist who was working on Pandora in the first episode, and she died actually there. So she somehow ended up being pregnant, and she gave birth to this beautiful Kiri. Um,
and then
and
you've got
also there was this
Spider.
spider. They call him Spider. I'm not sure whether he had a name. Not sure, but he he was a human. Apparently, the son of this colonel.
Yeah,
And
one was a tree.
because he was too young when all humans were sent back to their own Earth from Pandora in the first episode. He was too young to be placed in a chamber because he wouldn't be able to survive it. So he was left behind. So he grew up as a like an adopted son to this family, and he was being treated exactly like a member of the family. But within this family, with these teenagers, because we saw them from a little baby growing, and now they're teenagers, maybe in their like just higher teens and lower teens, and maybe even younger. How young
15,
was the small one?
13,
Maybe like
11, 10.
7 or I don't know. So there was all these how teenagers behave with each other and how they behave with their parents and how they don't follow instructions because they want to prove themselves. So the two brothers, um, the older brother always being very treated like the older brother by his parent by his dad. So there was a lot of this where he's always being considered to be the sensible and the wise one, and he needs to look after his siblings because he's the oldest. And then the younger one is never good enough as his brother, and he feels he's inadequate and he can never be good enough as his bigger brother.
Which,
And so
by the way, by the way, I mean, just in terms of that, what we've covered so far, there you could draw an analogy between William and Harry. You know, like is born into a family just because he's born first. Like glory's ahead of him, and all this, you know, all the pressure is all the focus is on him because he's got to stay alive and become the next king. And Harry, on the other hand, is like the spare part. Really, I mean, he's just a yeah, like yeah, he's in the family and he is like third in line until William starts producing kids, and then once he starts producing kids, he drops down the pecking order considerably until he's almost irrelevant. And you can understand how that could be felt. Now, I'm not a big fan of following this saga to be myself because I'm not bothered or affected by it, but you can see how in this film it was brought out. Not that I'm sure the
I
guy.
don't think it was on purpose because it's a normal problem with the middle child
No, no, but it does draw
feeling like
attention.
that.
It draws attention to the fact that in every family there is the potential for the younger
Hmm.
child to feel like this and feel like not worthy or not as good as, or and it's very
Yeah,
important for the parents to treat all the children with equal love and equal and it, it's a problem. It's a problem, and it's
yeah.
highlighted in this film.
So there's this problem of parenting as well. So how do you actually parent? So Jake, the mighty warrior leader of the people, he wasn't really in my eyes. I'm looking and I'm thinking, what are you doing? You silly man. You don't treat your family like this. So he treats his family as a squad, and they're all warriors and fighters, and uh, he's making them to be like him. And okay, the older kids can probably cope with that, but the others can't really. So they're all ending up growing up in the shade of a powerful father or in the shade of an older brother. Um, so parenting issues. How do you parent your kids? That's what was in the film as well. And then if we move away from their family unit, the fitting in and belonging. So they had to move from the place where they lived, and they became now aliens and foreigners into another part of the planet where people live differently. And at the beginning, they weren't treated as like equals. They were laughed at, especially the younger kids. Like you have your body is like this, your hands are like that, or you're how are you going to manage here because our life is like that and you can't do it. You are forest people, we are sea people. How are you going to survive? How are you going to help us? How are you going to be a part of the tribe? And they promised they'll learn, and they did learn.
But that's
um
like that's almost just like immigration, isn't it? And going elsewhere and being different through skin color or whatever, and then different customs and different approaches to living, which they have to people have to deal with if they're basically refugees, which is what they are in this film. They're refugees, aren't they? They're
yeah,
refugees, and the yeah. So that was because basically the tribal leader, like the equivalent of Jake. He's got kids and he's got a whole set of problems related to what's going on with them. And then the
for his
two
kids, yeah.
families, because they're both of the same social status, basically the kids have got to get on, and they don't really to start with because kids are a bit more able to pick holes and find fault and stuff and are quite vicious. Where parents have already got sort of social status and they've been
Mm.
socialized. They know how to treat other people, which is fair and honourable. Whereas kids don't have such such limitations. They do what the hell they like, and that comes out in the film in a variety of scenes. But
Yeah. So they're all different. We're all different. So the topic of we're all different, yet we're all the same because we all have the same values. Family is important to everybody. Their kids are important to them. So that's what unites
well, the village
these
is important.
different
The
tribes.
place, the tribes are important. Where they live and the people immediately around them is important. And that came out a bit later on because the
Yeah,
wife of the local tribal leader is basically saying, you brought all this shit upon us, and all this crap's only here because you turned up. And it's like, well, we can go, but they'll be back. Like they
yeah.
weren't going to leave, but like they're going to be back because these people they want to live here. They're going to come back, and they're going to, you're better off fighting together, being together. And the family unit came across quite strongly in the film as the
The
most
the
important
family unit and the community as well.
and
Community
community.
is what you got.
and then
If you
your
don't have the
race, your
community,
planet.
you don't have anything.
Yeah, I mean, but then then you've got that. So your family's your immediate support on that, and then the tribe is the next level, and then the next level is your in humanity or your navi or whatever it is, and then after that you've got the animals and the plants and the whole of
And
the
all the
and
energy around.
yeah, and then you've got Iowa, the planet like life source, if you like. Everything is acting together to expel this nasty virus which is arriving.
Hmm. And
So
this is this kind of family unit and tribal support and community comes in even with the whales, the equivalent of what are they called? Tulkun, Tulkuns. They also had um, once upon a time that was their legend. That once upon a time they fought over territory and power, but they realized that nothing really works when you start enforcing things with force, so they gave up on fighting for good. So no Tolkien is going to be ever seen to retaliate, even if they, like in this case, they were hunted. Even when they're hunted and they are in danger of dying, they would never go and fight back because
except
they
for,
that's what
except
is
for the
was
little
in their,
except for the
except
little
for
one.
this one. There was this one that was
Shame.
uh, he was shamed from the tribe for some reason. I think it was on some ill understood reason, and he ended up being alone. But then that's the one who helped them all at the end.
I mean, we say small. It's not the size of a tuna. This is the size of a massive blue whale.
A massive whale that can go on top of a ship and sink it.
Yeah,
That's the kind of whale we're talking about. So,
that's
evil versus good, the overarching topic of honor and keeping one's word, friendship, and one that really comes very powerfully across is doing the right thing, even and especially when it is the hardest thing to do.
yeah. I mean,
Doing the right
there's
thing.
bits of the movie that we won't talk about that get a bit laborious. They're a bit too many kids getting locked up on a boat and stuff like this. I mean, I think there's a bit of stuff which I think it's a bit
It went a bit long.
we've done that. Well, yeah, let's move on. But overall, yeah, money well spent. Enjoyed the film.
Quite enjoyable and quite thought provoking in many respects.
Yeah,
So
I don't think it's any more.
if you have already seen it, let us know what you think about
I'm not sure it's any more thought provoking than the first one, but it's a bit different thoughts.
different thoughts. And because it's now different, it's gone past so many years since the first one, and we have a fresh one to refresh our thinking about these issues that it raised in the first one.
Yeah.
Right, we would like to hear what you think about Avatar number two. And as always, we would like to read your comments. So feel free to write down what you think, or maybe we didn't mention something that really stood out for you, and you want to add it to this video. Great. Put it down in the comments, and if you like what we're doing in Awakening Happiness on this channel, please do feel free to subscribe. We would like to have you on board. And we now have a new Discord server. The links of all of these are going to be in the description. So come on board. Bye
Okay.
for now.